So I'm going to show you today a bunch of tips that I used making multiple cards. The first thing that I will share is there's two ways that you can get your cardstock ready. I don't like to cut my cardstock for a lot of cards. Like if I'm making 100 cards, I don't like to cut those separate. I like to get it done, sit down, put a movie on. But I pulled out my guillotine or guillotine trimmer from Tonic, which is a phenomenal trimmer. And I cut a bunch all at once. And I'm going to score them all at once. So these are A2 size cards, or you can get from Scrapbook.com these blank note cards. And these blank note cards are fantastic because the work is done for you. I'm going to pull out this Merry and Bright Sentiments, the Scrapbook.com exclusive stamp set for the holidays. So here you can see I chose Miles Apart, but Together at Heart this holiday season. Tip number 2 for your holiday card making is to make simple backgrounds. You don't have to shy away completely from the backgrounds, even if you're making a lot of cards. So you can see here the first panel that I'm making, I'm getting a really beautiful blend. I'm using Bristol Smooth cardstock and these Scrapbook.com blender tools, which have the beveled edges around them, so they're like rounded tools, and they're fantastic. But I am going to then show you a couple of these other backgrounds because, like I said, I don't want to sit there and ink blend 50 cards. I just can't do that either because my tricep muscle just won't be able to handle that. But what I can do is pull out a bunch of stencils in my stash that need some love and attention and just put some really quick ink blending over them. And like I said, with these blender tools, they work beautifully, so they work really quickly. I have leftover ink, and it is my philosophy that you do not waste oxide ink. So I'm going to add pumice stone and some blueprint sketch, and I'm going to spritz it with this Hero Arts iridescent white shimmer spray. Then I added some water just so I can get a little bit more of that liquid moving, and I was pleased as punch. It came out so pretty, and I'm going to show you, actually the camera does pick up a little bit of that, well, a lot on the camera, a lot in real life, a little bit on the camera, of that iridescent look. So here I'm going to take out this Scrapbook.com holiday stamp set, and from it I'm going to pick out the lights. So I'm going to use the string of lights and the string of what I presume is sort of like a tinsel, and I'm going to actually do that a little bit differently than just stamping. So the first thing I'm going to use is some alcohol marker friendly ink just to get this down, and I'm cleaning that off with my picket fence scrubby there. And so I'm just going to continue because I wanted to use the Misty for placement instead of just a regular acrylic block, just in case I didn't ink it up well enough. And so I'm going to continue that process until I get all the strings of lights that I want. I'm going to go in here with the garland type of stamp, and I'm going to stamp it in some Scrapbook.com embossing ink, and then I'm going to pour some silver embossing powder over it because I want to give that garland tinsel-y look to my card. So yeah, I like this color palette here. It's, I guess you can consider non-traditional, sort of like the pastel colors with the silver. So here I took my long scissors, and if you are struggling with making your own hillside type shape, maybe try longer scissors. It seems to be a little bit easier because you have a smoother motion with the longer ones than the choppy motion with the smaller ones. So that's another tip for you. Okay, here I cut where the nose is from my little snowman. Now this is a honeybee set, and it is stinking cute. This whole set is just adorable. My next tip is dimension is life. Dimension brings these cards just from ordinary to extraordinary. And I'm going to show you a couple ways that I use dimension on here. Now, the traditional way of what we always do is just pop up your images, pop up your panels, and it adds that extra element of the card. It brings it from just something you can see in a store to something really cool. This other way is to use a wobble. So what I did was I cut out a separate head for my snowman, and I am going to just place that right on top here. I'm using one of those wobblers, and we are going to have this little head, almost like a bobblehead. So that's another thing. So just get creative with your dimension. I'm also going to wobble this hat. So here I'm back to this panel here, and I'm keeping this so super simple. This is one of the simplest cards I've ever made, and I am here for it because, like I said, when you're making multiples, you just need a couple easy ones. This is this beautiful die from Scrapbook.com. This is the Winter Wishes die, and it just is a staple. It's a phenomenal die. You can actually cut off the banner on the bottom if you want, just to make a snowflake. There's a lot you can do with it, but I decided to add a little snowman's hat just to bring classy meets whimsical into this card right here. And then we're going to move on to the next background. Again, we have a very simple background. Now, I chose blue snowflakes on a white background. Here I had the other one I showed you already, but then also the Merry Sentiments, and I'm gonna do something fun with the Merry Sentiments as well. Okay, so let's get into my tip for making sentiments. Now, if you're doing holiday cards, it is probably fastest if you do all of your sentiments at once. Now, you don't have to do them all the same, but I would recommend getting them all positioned. Here I'm taking some Scrapbook.com tape runner, and I did not feel like taking all of those sentiments off of the plastic, so I just adhered the plastic to my MISTI, and then I can just do it all at once. I am definitely going to be using my anti-static powder bag like crazy here. And so once I do that, I take my Scrapbook.com embossing ink, which is a juicy. I thought for sure I was going to have to stamp this a few times. This was a one pass. You can always stamp it twice just for extra security, but I didn't need to. So that was great. It's going to be awesome to have all of these done and off to the side so that when you are ready to assemble your cards, you're going to be able to just pull it out and go. I'm going to heat set all of that. Not going to let you sit here and watch literal paint dry. So I'm going to speed that up. But once I get that all dried, then I recommend a microfiber cloth and look at how well that cleans right up. And I am just going to cut. Now, because I kept right on their plastic, they were already lined up perfectly. I couldn't have lined them up that perfect if I pulled them off. So it was best that I just kept them on there. And then because this trimmer's so good, I'm just going to keep sliding it through. The bottom of this trimmer and the top of the trimmer have a lip that will hold your cardstock, which is awesome, so it doesn't go flying everywhere. With this set, I'm actually going to do bubble cutting with them. So what that means is I am cutting around the letters of the sentiment, and that adds such a wonderful element to the cards. I'm going to be pulling out this classic font from Scrapbook.com, and I am going to cut a few words out of some glitter cardstock. So I'm going to cut out snow, joy, merry, and you'll see me do that. I'm taking this mint tape, which I have had many arguments with tape that supposedly did not ruin my projects when I put them through my die cutting machine. And this is the only one that has allowed me to win the argument because it does not ruin your cardstock. So that is a treat. All right, so now let's start putting our sentiments onto our cards. You want to have fun with your sentiments. Okay, so you saw in the first one, I put 3 on, which I don't hardly ever put more than one sentiment unless it's a sub-sentiment. But I said, you know what? It's the holidays. I'm feeling it. Let's do it. So I put that on. Now my snow die here, I just put a little wonky. I needed to make it fit, but I also thought that added some really fun interest. This one right here, I'm going to put Merry and Bright. I held that a little longer because it was over the embossing powder, but this smart glue works amazing, so that was easy. Here he's holding a little Wonderland, got some presents, super cute. And then I'm going to put Jingle All the Way right there where a banner or a sentiment just belongs. All right, so now we are on to the stage of my final tip, which is embellish, embellish, embellish. On these first 2 cards, I put some sticky ink, and then I put some Hero Arts Puff White embossing powder, which is magical, a must-have for the holidays. it's just awesome. You can also use it for the caps on waves of the ocean. You can use it for poodle's fur. You can use it for beer foam. There's just a ton of things that you can do with that stuff. It's great. But I'm going to go with my trusty white gel pen to add a couple of the highlights to my images, just to add a little bit of something there. And my Scrapbook.com sparkle pen is going to add just that beautiful add of shimmer to any of those things. I'm also going to pull out my stickles. I'm a huge fan of stickles during the holidays. I think, again, just brings those cards from ordinary to extraordinary, and they're just a lot of fun. And who doesn't love a frosty that looks frosty?